talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute, that powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell, and today we've got a very special episode. You know that I've been a very strong critic of the National Defense Authorization Act ever since it came about. And the man standing next to me is Alan Arkin, and he is running for Representative Dan Binishek's seat. And Alan doesn't like the National Defense Authorization Act either. Because, folks, let me tell you what this does. The National Defense Authorization Act, in conjunction with the authorization for the use of military force, allows the federal government to use the United States military to arrest and detain any person without a charge and hold them indefinitely. They don't get a lawyer, their parents, their family aren't contacted, none of that good stuff. Okay, that is just decidedly un-American. So much so that 23 of the 50 states have nullified the indefinite detention provision of the National Defense Authorization Act. Michigan being the latest of the states to do that. Now, Representative Binishek has been in office for quite a while now. He knew that there was a move in the state of Michigan to nullify the National Defense Authorization Act. Every single state level representative and every single state level senator voted against it, 100%. And we've got a motorcycle. It kind of stopped right there for a second. And so 100% of the state level representatives and senators in the state of Michigan voted against, or voted to nullify the National Defense Authorization Act. This law was signed into law by Governor Snyder just this past Christmas. And Michigan became the 23rd state to nullify the National Defense Authorization Act. Now, the reason that we're here talking with Mr. Arkin is because we need to replace every single rhino and every single Democrat that's in the House of Representatives and the Senate. These people need to go. People like John Boehner, he needs to go. Okay, we've got a serious problem. And rhinos, you can't tell them apart from Democrats anymore. Okay, we need to get people into the halls of Congress that are going to do what their people want. See, what's going on is Representative Binishek is absolutely ignoring the wishes of his constituents. He's absolutely ignoring the wishes of the citizens of the state of Michigan, and so is just about all the rest of them. Carl Levin voted for the National Defense Authorization Act. Matter of fact, it was kind of his baby, wasn't it? And so, you know, all these people got to go.
He also talked about striking Americans from that bill too, though, on the floor.
But he never
And then he
did.
said that the executive wanted it in there, otherwise they wouldn't pass it.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, we've got the soapbox. That's what I'm doing. We've got the ballot box. That's what he's doing. We've got to get people in the halls of Congress, folks, before we have to resort to the bullet box, because I'm telling you, it's coming. And we don't have much time left. That's why we've got to get people like, I'm calling you Representative Arkin already. People like Alan Arkin into Congress. Okay, now, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where have you come from? What trained your political thoughts?
Well, my political thoughts, I go back a little further. I'm military, Air Force, worked F-15s as a crew chief. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and I meant it. You know, when we go and actually understand the Constitution, it is our duty to disobey unlawful orders as military. You know that.
Absolutely.
You know, so I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and we have a representative right now that I'm not sure understands the Constitution. You know, when we go back and we read what Madison thought about, Jefferson thought about, when Hamilton thought about, you get into the Federalist Papers, there is no question of what liberty is, where it's coming from. There's only what we're supposed to do to defend it, and we're supposed to be vigilant. We're supposed to be educating the next generation on liberties and freedoms. And the NDAA violates our Article 1, Section 9, a due process, which is a cornerstone of our country. You know, even several hundred years ago, they determined that due process is a fundamental right. You know, you get a jury of your peers, you get your day in court, and by taking that away is just is un-American.
It's absolutely un-American. As a matter of fact, another thing that I've gone on and on and on about is the fact that Barack Obama has assumed the power to murder American citizens with his pen and his phone. That's exactly what he's done, because he did it with Anwar al-Awlaki. He did it with Samir Khan, and he did it in a separate drone strike when he killed al-Awlaki's 16-year-old son, Abdul Rahman. Now, I have no love for Anwar al-Awlaki, but the fact is the man was an American citizen. And even the ACLU and Rand Paul both agree that what happened to him was a travesty. As an American citizen, everybody gets their day in court. And then you kill the scumbag, if he is in fact found guilty. But the President of the United States, for him to just sign a piece of paper and order the death of an American citizen without any judicial review, without any congressional oversight whatsoever, is a crime. And we need people like this to stand up and talk about that. Matter of fact, you brought up James Madison. You know, writing as Publius in Federalist Paper number 43, James Madison said that whenever the powers of the executive, legislative, and judicial are all in the hands of the same man, that's the very definition of tyranny. And with the murder of Anwar al-Awlaki, this country, this constitutional republic fell, and it was replaced with a tyranny. Now we've got one last chance, the midterm elections, to change that. So we've got to support people like Alan Arkin here. Now I want to hear more about this, because you talk about the Federalist Papers. Now you've got my curiosity up. So you aren't really brand new to politics, are you?
No, I was.
Campaign, didn't you?
I was a national delegate in 2012. I've always been, you know, in and out. I'm kind of a history junkie myself. I'm partial to American history. I really like it. Like the whole atmosphere around it is so rich in patriotism, people fighting on principle, and it is the whole essence of liberty. Where, you know, not so much where it came from, but how we got to be. You know, we went and they show what liberty is. They define it in these documents, and they say that any time that our government goes outside of these are our bellwethers, these are our indications that there are tyrannical things happening in our country when they overstep these bounds. That's why they solidified them. And then there's always the argument to where they didn't want to have the Bill of Rights in the first place, because they said, why define the rights if it was never the federal government's in the first place? But they decided to put them in there because it is supposed to be an alarm to the people, saying that these are the things that you need to look for.
Well, it's a good thing that they did. And for almost 240 years, they protected us. But now with the use of Obama's executive orders, just signs a piece of paper and they're gone. The First Amendment, gone. Janet Napolitano, when she was head of the Department of Homeland Security, said that they want to monitor people like me in real time. People that keep their audiences informed on Twitter and on Facebook and on blogs. Like we're some kind of a threat. Veterans are supposed to be some kind of a threat.
You look how they want to define the First Amendment. What is the press? When they can define it, they can regulate it.
That's right. And you can't define the press, because the people are the press. 1 minute battery.
If we had defined the press early on in American history, we may never had the Federalist Papers. You know, it was an open conversation between statesmen, educating the public on their thoughts on what liberty was.
Excuse me just 1 second, I got to get another battery. I'll be right back. Matter of fact, why don't you click this ad while I'm going to get the battery and send me a 1/10 of a cent. I'll be right back.
I'm Pete Santilli, and you're watching The Truth is Viral.
Do not click away. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell, and we're sitting in front of the county building here in Otsego County in the Alpine village of Gaylord. This is a nice little town if you ever get a chance to come up here and check it out. They've got a bunch of really sweet shops to go into. As a matter of fact, here's some video of me and my wife on our 25th wedding anniversary when we came through Gaylord. Fudge! Fudge! You want fudge?
Fudge!
Let's go get some fudge.
Okay, after we get out of here.
Well, just going through some shops, checking it out. That was a fun day. Okay, so we're going to resume our conversation with Alan Arkin. He's running for 1st Congressional District in the great state of Michigan, hoping to unseat Dr. Dan Benishek, who I consider, and Alan probably wouldn't agree with my use of words, but a bit of a traitor, because he knew exactly what he was doing when he voted to authorize the National Defense Authorization Act. He knew that for the last 3 years the people of the state of Michigan were trying to nullify it. So he kept on voting for it time and time again, even though he knew that the people of the state of Michigan did not want it. Well, now his piece of legislation that he so loved and so voted for has been nullified by Michigan. And I think it's time that we nullify Representative Benishek's term in office too. And Alan, I want you to tell my viewers what you would like to do when you get into the halls of Congress. What issues are you going to make your centerpiece?
Well, one of the main issues I'd be fighting to restore Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. Absolutely. I mean, it's a cornerstone of our country. You have to have your day in court. You know, the founders knew that. Other things I'd be fighting against, I'd be fighting to shrink the size, scope, and power of government, especially in education, because it was never the intent of the founders to allow the federal government to educate our children. It is our duty to educate the children. You know, in a state, local level is where it should be at. You know, you can even go to the Department of Education website. Well, it used to be there. I don't know if it still is, but they even showed since they were in their inception, our education standard dropped every year since they were created. The founders, they even considered funding education, public schools, the same as funding religion. It's a no-no. So, that's a couple things I would be fighting for.
What do you think about the IRS? That's been in the news quite a bit lately. I'd kind of like to see a flat tax instituted. So, you know, whether you buy not an income tax either, but a sales tax. So that, like, if you buy a yacht, you're charged 10% on that sales tax. If you buy a candy bar, you're charged 10%
on a new consumer.
Yeah, I think that's fair for everybody. And it would encourage people to save too. Mm-hmm. But what about the IRS? Would you like to get rid of it?
Yeah, you know, the founders created our taxation system as indirect taxes. That's how it is. In the IRS, Article 16, or I'm sorry, Amendment, the 16th Amendment, goes right around what our founders knew took liberties away. As soon as you directly tax the people, you're losing liberties. That's why when they created, they did it as indirect, as duties, excises, imposts, and anything other than that, they were supposed to go to the states and get the taxes to run constitutional government. And they knew that if they went to the states and the federal government wanted to outstep its constitutional boundaries, the states can stand up to the federal government, but an individual cannot. That's why they put that safeguard in there deliberately. And even in the Civil War, the Supreme Court ruled that a direct taxation to the people is unconstitutional, and it was 1896, somewhere around there. You know, the Supreme Court has already agreed on the same issue. So, you know, I really think that we need to do away with direct taxation and put something else in place that is indirect.
And immigration. You guys just saw me cover a protest in Lansing where you had two groups, and if the Michigan State Patrol had not been there, there would have been violence, because I'm telling you, those people from BAM are not nice people. Okay, they want amnesty for 11 million illegal immigrants. They want to throw open our borders and just welcome everybody in and say, here, you're an American citizen. Well, I'm sorry, but when there are homeless veterans when going hungry and homeless, when there are people like my wife that can't get hospice care because there's no money in their coffers, even though she's paid taxes on the 2 and 3 jobs at a time that she's had for the last 20 years. There's no money for her now. But people that haven't contributed 1 drop of sweat to this country are coming in, they're being welcomed in. It's a tsunami wave, and it's destroying every social service that can be imagined. Housing, food stamps, health care. It's insane. How can we are $17 trillion in debt. How can we afford to take on the burdens of the rest of the world when we can't even afford to take care of our own citizens?
Madison warned us about that in the Federalist Papers, about giving travelers coming to our country. In fact, he even talked about it in the first Congress. What naturalization is, what kind of immigrants do we really look for, why there is a right of suffrage. You know, he talks about immigrants that you know, add to the community, add to the wealth of our country. You know, they become a part of our community. They're not a strain on our country. That's the type of immigrants he talked about. And you know, and a right of suffrage is there so that people come here because you want to be American. We are supposedly the city on the hill. That's why people came here, because they wanted a better life. They can have the liberties and freedoms, but if you don't go through a right of suffrage, the people that are coming across the border, they bring all their belief systems with them, and they change our belief system. So that's why there's a right of suffrage. Why you learn the Constitution. You know, why there is legislation to become a natural citizen. You know, because it is something that we teach and pass on, and if you get it watered down, you're going to lose liberties and freedoms.
And we've lost those already. We're sitting here smack dab in the state of Michigan. Okay, but Border Patrol can legally go over to my truck and look through my computer. They have that right now because the 4th Amendment no longer applies within 100 air miles of the border of the United States.
The ACLU has proven that. Yep.
That includes the state of Maine, state of California, Washington, Oregon, Michigan, Florida. Right now, the Border Patrol can seize any electronic device that you have, even if you are nowhere near the border. They can stop your vehicle 90 miles inland and harass you, ask you if you're a citizen. Well, the conversation should end there when you say yes, but it doesn't, does it? No, I think we've seen a lot of videos posted on the internet by people that are stopped by Border Patrol, and they're just endlessly harassed. They're looking for reasons to get you trained to live in a slave state. And folks, we've got to put an end to this. I'm not a sovereign citizen. I'm not a radical whack job. I'm a constitutionalist. I want law and order in this country. I'm not an anarchist. I just want the people in Washington, D.C. to be subject to the same laws to which we are subject to. And I think most recently we saw how they like to exempt themselves when they exempted themselves from Obamacare, that they shoved down our throats. So you'd kind of like to see Obamacare go away, wouldn't you?
I happen to believe I would.
And what would you do to make that happen?
Well, you know, I think we need to start defunding a lot of these programs. You know, the Congress has the power to defund. I had to educate one of Dr. Benešek's staffers, because his staffer told me that Congress doesn't have the power of the purse. Would you believe that? A congressman's staffer telling me that. I
would believe it. Coming from Benešek's staff, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually shocked. I couldn't believe he told me that. So we have the argument that it's unconstitutional because it came out of the Senate. It's going up the chains. I'm not sure how far it's going to get, because technically it is unconstitutional coming out of the Senate, because all revenue comes out of the House of Representatives, out of Congress there. But I think the surefire way to actually make it go away, the best way, is we need to get our legislators to defund it. Madison told us that defunding is probably the most effective weapon that they have given to our House of Representatives, is the power to defund any program they want.
Well, can't the executive just take that money from somewhere else? Like, say,
Not if the
Social
Congress
Security?
says you can't have it.
Okay.
Congress holds the power of the purse.
Yeah, that's really a nice slogan, and I like the idea. But I think that Obama has proven that if he doesn't like what Congress says, he'll just write an executive order.
Well, this is where Congress isn't doing their constitutional duties. They're not following their oath. Because their oath is to support and defend the Constitution. And if we have an executive that does whatever he wants, it is Congress's duty to hold him accountable.
So then why isn't John Boehner pushing for the impeachment of Barack Hussein Obama? This man
Well,
has
a better
laundry
question
list.
might be, why is he pushing for to sue the president when I don't read anywhere in the Constitution about suing people?
No, I don't know where that authority comes from either.
Yeah, I actually got a little chuckle when I heard that, but I also was quite disturbed that he thought that that was the corrective course of action for reigning in the executive branch.
Yeah. Well, Congress is falling down all over the place. You know what used to happen when people were held in contempt of Congress? The sergeant at arms would hold that person in a little jail cell right underneath the hall, and they would be held until they answered the questions that Congress put to them. Here we have Eric Holder, the head of the Justice Department, still in contempt of Congress.
255 members found him in criminal contempt.
2 years after 2 years after that, he's still walking around, hasn't told Congress what they want to hear. Lois Lerner. This woman has the keys to the kingdom, literally.
And she was in found contempt, and who gets to try her for that?
Eric Holder.
Eric Holder.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to go anywhere either.
No, it's not. So this is where Congress needs to take the bull by the balls. Arrest Lois Lerner, arrest Eric Holder, hold them in that little jail cell inside the House of Representatives until they do what Congress demands be done. And then when all the lies are laid bare, they can take the evidence that these two have given and impeach Barack Hussein Obama for high crimes and misdemeanors against the people of the United States of America. And that was my wet dream for the day. But in reality, the only chance that we've got, the only peaceful chance that we've got left, is to send men like Alan Arkin to the halls of Congress. So if you're one of my 4,500 viewers in northeastern Michigan, I want you to vote for this man. And I want you to call Representative Benishek's office, because over the past 6 months, I've given him no less than 5 opportunities to appear on the show and explain why he has voted for the National Defense Authorization Act when it is clear to anybody with a functioning brain cell
More than once.
that the people of Michigan don't want it. So from Gaylord, Michigan, I'd like to thank everybody for watching The Truth is Viral. My name is Bob Powell. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, add me to your Google Plus circle, and vote for this guy. I got a good feeling. Until next time, God bless, Semper Fi, and Hurrah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Smack, runner, your game is through. Smack, runner, I'm talking to you.